Okay, before we get into this next unit, there's a little experiment we have to conduct. Okay, 20 and 10, I want you to put the symbol in there that would make this true. Well, to make it true, it would have to eat the 20 because 20 is bigger. Okay, now I want you to go to 20 and 10. I want you to add 3 to each number. So 20 plus 3 is 23. 10 plus 3 is 13. Now 23 is bigger, so it still eats a 23. So it's still a greater than sign. So it's going to put same. Okay. Now go to 20 and 10 and subtract 3 from each number. So 20 subtract 3 minus 3, it's going to be 17. 10 subtract 3 minus 3 is 7. Okay, so 17 is still the bigger number. So same thing. Okay, so it's going to be the same sign here that we had up here, but greater than sign. Now divide each number by 5. Take your calculator if you need to. So 20 divided by 5 is 4, and 10 divided by 5 is 2. 4 is bigger, still eats a 4, so it's the same sign. Now divide each number by negative 5. So if I divide 20 by negative 5, that's going to be negative 4. And then I'm going to divide the 10 by the negative 5, and that's going to be negative 2. Now that they're negative, the smaller negative is actually the larger one, so we need to eat that number. So now we have a less than, so it's not the same, it's switched, so put switch. Okay. When you divide by a negative number on both sides, it will switch. Okay. Now multiply each side by 2. So 20 times 2 is going to be 40, and 10 times 2 is 20. Okay. Now 40 is bigger, so eat the 40. So that's the same sign. But when you multiply each side by negative 2, so 20 times negative 2 is going to be negative 40. And 10 times negative 2 is going to be negative 20. Now negative 20 is now bigger, so the sign now eats that one. It's now a less than sign. Negative 40 is less than negative 20. So we did switch it. So the sign switches when you divide by a negative on both sides, or when you multiply by a negative on both sides, and that is very important to keep track of. Now what we are doing today is solving inequalities. Okay. Now if this was just an equation, don't write this down. You'd see you have a plus 5, you'd have to minus 5, and x has one discrete value of negative 8. But with inequalities, okay, with greater than and less than, you have a continuous amount of answers that you are going to represent with a number line. So there's not going to be one discrete answer. You start at one discrete answer, but then you either go right from that answer or left, greater than or less than. Now here's what I would recommend you do. I would circle the sign, I would make a wall as long as there's only a single x. There's a single x, so that's good. Now we want to get that x by itself. It has a plus 5 with it, okay? So what you need to do is minus 5. Now you're going to want to write what you're doing over here. When you plus or minus, whichever one, okay, put a check mark because that means the sign is going to change. So before you actually do that, you're going to want to drop the same sign down there. So put check mark means just put the same sign down. Then you do the opposite of plus 5, which is minus 5. So you have x by itself. Negative 3 minus 5 is negative 8. Now, at the end, does the letter come before the number? It does. So put a check. You don't have to reorder it. Now you're ready to graph. So you put negative 8, you circle. You need to close a circle because you can be equal to negative 8, and that's a greater than sign. You see how that looks like a nose, and the nose points to the right, so it's a greater than sign. So x can be not only negative 8, but any value going this way from negative 8. So x greater than or equal to negative 8. And just to prove it to you, don't write this down, just watch. Pick a number that way. Let's pick 3. So if I put 3 in for x and add 5, 3 plus 5 is 8, and then negative 3. It eats a bigger number, so that is a true statement, okay? Okay, now the next problem. You construct your number line, put the 0 in the middle. Now x is over here, okay? You got to follow this. So negative 2 and x, you put a times dot, you circle it. So this is the x side. To get rid of the times negative 2, we have to divide by negative 2. Now when you times or divide, which we're doing here, are we going to be dividing by a negative? We are. So put an x, okay, and an or not an x. Put the word switch, okay, because you're about to divide both sides by a negative number. So switch that sign. Now go do your dividing. So over here, 8 divided by negative 2 is negative 4. And you have to keep it in the same order. The x comes behind the symbol, so you have to put it behind the symbol, okay? You can't write, yeah. You need to put the x behind the symbol. That's where it's at here. Now, this needs to be reordered, okay? Because I want x to come before the negative 4. Now, reorder means you have to switch the sign back, okay? So you have negative 4, you're going to circle, you're going to fill in the circle, and then greater than negative 4 is this way. So x greater than or equal to negative 4. Okay, my next problem. Draw a line on the side of the x. What operation? You have a divide, so just like with a times, you want to circle it. So on this side, we got to get rid of the divide by negative 3. We get rid of that by timesing by negative 3. Now, if you're timesing or dividing, if you're doing it with a negative, which we are here, you need to switch, okay? So you flip the sign, and then you times each side by the negative 3. So the x is before the symbol. 8 times negative 3 is negative 24. That's after the symbol. You can put a check mark. You do not need to reorder this. We want the x before the number. So negative 24, you circle, you fill it, and that's a less than sign, so it would go this way. Okay, my next problem. X is on this side. What are your operations? Well, you got times and minus, make that a plus negative. So now you have two numbers on the x side. You have to get rid of your negative 2 first with plus 2. And then you get rid of your times negative 4 by dividing by negative 4. Now minus and plus you put check. The sign won't change. You're dividing and you're dividing by a negative number, so you need to switch. So the check means first you're going to keep it the same. Then the switch means you're going to switch it. Do that first, okay? Set up your symbols first. Then it goes right in line. Plus 2, plus 2. So negative 4 times x is before the symbol. And then 14 plus 2 is 16. That's after the symbol. Now you're dividing by a negative number on both sides. So you have x. 16 divided by negative 4 is negative 4. So you have negative 4. And the nose points that way. That indicates it's less than. So x less than or equal to negative 4. You want to write your steps right there so you know what to do with the symbol. Plus and minus, the symbol never changes. Times and divide, it changes if it's by a negative. Okay. Okay, next problem. We got 3x plus 4 minus 5x greater than or equal to 20. So here's the symbol. Now we have two x's, okay? So the first step you have to conduct is you have to fix your like terms of x. Now you circle the symbol, okay? And they're on the same side, so put same side. Now if you have like terms of x, whether they're on the same side or on opposite sides, you put a check mark, okay? You will not switch the symbol. Now if they're on the same side, you connect them with a V, make that minus a plus negative, and you just add them. So 3 plus negative 5 is negative 2x, and we still have the plus 4, and then we have 20. Now we can make our line. We got times and plus. Now we have to minus the 4 first, and then we have to divide by the negative 2. So the minus, it never switches on a minus. The divide, it switches if it's by a negative, which it is, so we will have to switch. So check means we will not change it there, but then the switch means we will change it here. So minus 4, I get 16. Then I divide each side by negative 2, and that's when it changes because we're dividing by a negative on both sides, negative 8. Okay, so you have your negative 8, you circle, you're going to close it, and it's less than, so it would go that way. Okay, next one. Well, you have a parentheses, okay? So parentheses means you have to use the distributive property, dp, just put dp, and you can check that. You're not going to have to change it, okay? So I put a times dot with the 6, make it plus negative. We have to take 6 times x and 6 times negative 1. You always want that plus just to drop down. So 6 times x is 6x, and then 6 times negative 1 would be negative 6. Okay, you take the 6 times x, I'll write it up here. 6 times x, 6 times negative 1. So 6x, negative 6. Then you got your negative 18. Now, there's only a single x, and that's good. So you have to get rid of your negative 6 with plus 6, and then you get rid of your times by dividing by 6. Now the sign always checks on plus or minus, doesn't matter which one. Now I'm dividing, but when I divide it's going to be by a positive, so we can check that. It has to be division by a negative to switch it. So it's not switching, so plus 6, plus 6. So 6 times x, negative 18 plus 6 is negative 12. Then you divide by 6, put your x in front of the symbol, and then negative 2 behind it. So you got negative 2, you'll leave it open because it can't actually be equal to it, only less than, okay? X less than negative 2. Okay, next problem. Now we're going to change the game a little bit, okay? Or no, we're not going to change the game, okay? So you have like terms of x, okay? This time they're not on the same side, they're on opposite sides, so opposite side. But you're still checking it. A like terms of x, you always check it, but you have to get it, you have to simplify it differently than what you did up here. They're on opposite sides, you mark the smaller one and take it out. So I minus 3x. The sign won't change when doing this. So I don't have anything on this side, so we're going to put 0, and this would be 2x plus 12. So now x is over here. It's got a times 2, a plus 12. Circle the times. So you have to minus 12 and divide by 2. Okay, it never switches when you minus. When you divide, you'll be divided by a positive, so it doesn't switch there either. So I minus my 12. 0 minus 12 is negative 12, and then you have 2 times x. Then you're going to divide by 2. Now the x is behind the symbol, so you have to put it behind it. Negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6. Now if x is behind the symbol, you don't graph that. You need to reorder it. So you put x before the negative 6, and remember to flip the sign. Okay? So x is less than negative 6. So less than would go this way. Okay, next problem. 3x plus 5 is less than or equal to 2x minus 8. Okay, so you have like terms of x. They're on opposite sides of the inequality. You can check on the sign, meaning you don't have to flip it. You take out the smaller x, which would be the 2x. And I would get 1x plus 5, and then negative 8. So we got times 1. Now here's the deal. If you have times 1, you can get rid of it. Okay? It's a worthless thing to have. So all you have to do is minus 5, which you can check. Okay? Because you minus and plus, it never changes. Check the sign. check sign. When I put a check mark, it means the sign doesn't change. And that's negative 13, okay? You can check that then. You don't have to reorder it. You want the X, negative 13, circle, fill it. Less than goes this way. Okay, next problem. 2x minus 5 minus 6x is less than 15. So again, you have like terms of x, because there's two x's. They are on the same side. You can check on the sign, meaning just line it up, but if they're on the same side, you draw your v and you add them. So 2 plus negative 6 is negative 4x, and then you have your minus 5, or plus negative 5, then you're 15. Now you can make your wall. So you got times and plus negative. So you got to get rid of your negative 5 by plus 5. Sign checks. You get rid of your times negative 4 by dividing by negative 4, but we're dividing by a negative, so we will have to switch. Okay? So check, but then switch. You check when you add. That's 20. You flip when you switch. So divide by negative 4. You have x. 20 divided by negative 4 is negative 5. And that's in the correct order. I do not have to reorder that. Circle, don't fill it. Greater than goes this way. X is greater than negative 5. Okay, next problem. You got to do the distributive property, okay? You can check the sign, okay, when you do that. So, plus you take negative 3 times x and negative 3 times 2. So negative 3 times x would be negative 3x. Then you got to take your negative 3 times 2, and that would be negative 6. Then you have 24 on this side. We do not have like terms of x. We have to plus 6, which checks the sign, and divide by negative 3. And since we're dividing by a negative, we switch the sign. Okay. So when we add 6, we check, leave the sign the same. When we divide, we'll be dividing by a negative, so we flip it. So plus 6, that's 30. And you divide each side by negative 3. You have x, negative 10. Circle, don't fill it, less than goes this way. Okay, next problem. 8x is less than 12x plus 8. Okay, you have like terms of x. They're on opposite sides. And it doesn't matter if they're on opposite or same side. The sign, the symbol, the less than symbol checks. It stays the same. Okay, we'll take out our smaller x, 8x. So that's going to be 0, and then 4x plus 8. Okay, now we've got times 4 and plus 8. We've got to take out the plus 8 with minus 8, which will check the sign. Then we get rid of our times 4 with a divide by 4. Now I'm dividing, but I'm not dividing by a negative. It's a positive 4, so we check the sign there. So minus 8, that's negative 8, and then 4 times x. Then you divide by 4. Guys, the x is behind the symbol. You got to put it there when you divide. That's negative 2. Now, you don't want to graph that because you need to reorder that, okay? Because I need the x and then the negative 2, then the sign's going to flip, okay? So negative 2, circle, and then greater than goes this way. Leave it open, okay? Okay, 4x plus 8 greater than or equals 6x plus 10. You got like terms of x. They're on opposite sides. So you check the sign. Then you pull up, get rid of the smaller x. Minus 4x, minus 4x. So it's going to be 8, and then 2x plus 10. So now x is on here. So you got a minus 10. first, and then divide by your 2. Minus 10, that's always a check. Divide by a positive is a check too. So check the signs in both these steps. We're about to do minus 10, minus 10. 8 minus 10 is negative 2, then 2 times x. Then we divide each side by 2. Now remember, x is behind the symbol, so you put it there after dividing. You got negative 1. Then you just need to reorder it with x, negative 1, and then you flip the sign. Okay, so negative 1, circle, fill it, less than goes this way. That's your answer. Okay, next page. 5 is less than or equal to x plus 8. Okay. This is an easy one. All you got to do is minus the 8. Check the sign, of course, after you minus. Check means keep it the same. Okay, that needs to be reordered. Okay, so you put x, negative 3, it flips. So negative 3, circle, greater than would go this way. And then label the graph. Okay. Okay, next one. You don't have like terms of x, you don't have to distribute, so you set in your operator, and you just have to get rid of the times 5, which you're going to divide by 5. But we're dividing, but it's by a positive, so check the sign. So the sign checks, you got x, and then 35 divided by 5 is 7. You do not need to reorder that. Circle, fill it, and greater than goes this way. Okay, next problem. X is on this side. It has a divided by, so you want to circle that. And all you have to do is get rid of the divided by negative 4. So you have to times by negative 4. Now you're timesing by a negative, okay, so that's a switch. Then you execute your operation. X is in front of the symbol. 9 times negative 4 is negative 36. Check that, doesn't need to be reordered. Leave your circle open because you can't be equal, only greater than. So that would be this way. Okay, last problem. 15 is greater than or equal to negative 3x plus 6. So you don't have like terms of x, you make your line. Mark your times and plus. So we have two things on that side going on. We have to take out the plus 6 with minus 6. Sign always checks when you minus. We get rid of the times negative 3 by dividing by negative 3, and that's a switch because you're dividing by a negative. So check the sign and then switch the sign. Minus 6, 15 minus 6 is 9, and then negative 3 times x. Then when we divide, it's going to be both sides by that negative 3. So you got negative 3. Remember to put x behind the symbol. Then at the end, before you graph it, you need to reorder. Flip it, okay? So negative 3, circle, fill it, and it's greater than, so it would go this way.